Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and I'm here joined by a very special guest. I'm with Duckville. Would you like to say hello to everyone?
G'day everyone. We're going to have some fun doing some casting of Grubby today, and also Kyo. Should be really cool.
Now, we should probably point out to everyone who's possibly watching that we actually are probably the most difficult casting pair to try and do remotely, being as far apart of time zones as I believe is possible in the world.
Yeah, it's going to be. Well, we've got me, just waking up, and then you are about to go to sleep, so that should be interesting.
It's always good fun. Now, I don't know, how much time have you actually spent casting Heart of the Swarm? Have you been able to do much?
Yeah, quite a bit. Doing the After Hours Gaming League, because that's all in Heart of the Swarm, and then just a few replays that I've sort of found myself. So that should be yeah, it's a fair amount, but not a heap just yet. I've still been doing some Wings of Liberty stuff.
I think that's the thing, everyone's been kind of transitioning over. I know I've had like half and half on good weeks, but it's just getting
Yep.
hold of content. But I'm quite lucky
Yep.
just with the ESET stuff at the moment. We have huge amounts of replays, so
Yeah, definitely. Is it on? I think it's still on normal, the speed.
it is indeed. We were playing with we were
There we
sitting there
go.
playing with like the group replay viewing, and they were just like, things are going a bit slow right now. But see, I'm all tired. I'm ready to go to bed. God. But luckily you're awake and alert now. In terms of what's going to go on, it is of course a PvP, and in Heart of the Swarm this is actually a pretty fun matchup. It's all about the Mothership core for me. I think that's where it begins and ends, with how good people are with that. So, reckon we're going to see them
Yeah, I
both go
think
for it?
yeah, I think it's a lot better than it was in Wings of Liberty. You've got the dynamics of adding in the Tempest later on in the game, so it's not necessarily going to be this huge War of the Worlds Colossus battle. And like as you said with the Mothership core, it sort of changes things a little bit because um, a lot of people who watch my channel and cast and everything know that I kind of think there's normally three phases to PvP in Wings of Liberty. You got phase number one with either cheese or very early gateway pressure. You got phase number two where they go to two bases and there's blink and there's immortals, and those are the main factors there. And then it goes to phase three where you sit around for about 25 minutes and nothing happens while everyone gets about 15 Colossus up, and then the game ends in a flurry of lasers, and it's all dependent on who has their Colossi positioned better. So, and but I think in Heart of the Swarm it changes that quite a lot because there is the option of having the Tempest out, despite the fact they don't actually do the same amount of damage they used to against ground, but they still can add in quite an interesting dynamic.
I think all of the matchups have changed quite a lot though, in just the sense that you get more to and throwing all the way through. Like, before I actually came on a Skype call with you, I cast a 55-minute ZVP, which if you cast a game like that in Wings of Liberty, a good 20 minutes of that would just be a Broodlord Infestor army looking at like a Mothership Core Colossi army and nothing
Yep.
happening. But I've never had just Deathball v Deathball, just with no action yet,
Yeah,
which I've got to
yeah,
love.
yeah, it's pretty cool that it's changed. It's also I just had a game a couple of days ago at a PvP also on this map. Interestingly, that was the whole game went without a single Colossus. It was actually the greatest thing I've ever seen. So because I'm not a big fan of Colossi, so
Just like, I don't like the units, so if they don't use them, that just makes it awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Now we should probably talk a little bit about what's going on, and the reason we've been just kind of waffling for a bit is just that they've been going pretty standard, to be honest. Kyo went for a Mothership core slightly earlier. He's getting down some proxy pylons as well, but went for the double gas, now getting up his Stargate. Grubby went for a 2-gate. So neither player really being too aggressive, but the Mothership core will hopefully bring in a bit of poking and prodding. You can have a nice time with that actually. So Grubby does need to realise that's coming up, but he's going to spot the proxy pylon.
Yeah, he's just going to get up here. He should be able to get rid of that. I kind of feel like that was maybe just a little bit early to throw that down, but I mean, if you can get it down and it's not scouted, then that's brilliant. But just because of the very standard sort of play from Grubby with the three stalkers coming out, it's basically what I almost always see Grubby do. And so he's going to have those out for a little bit of map control, but of course, as we can see, the Mothership core is going to float inside his base and have a quick look at his own units.
Indeed, just going to have a little check around. Grubby warping in those two stalkers, going to push that Mothership core out. So effectively did nothing there. other than scout out what Grubby's going for, which of course is that Robo following it on. Meanwhile, the Stargate for Kyo is going for Phoenix, which I've cast a few of his games. I know you hadn't heard of him, but he seems to love Phoenix, like every game. So hopefully he'll be able to get some good harassment on, but as per Wings of Liberty, it's one base v one base for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's a play I always do. I always go for Phoenix in this matchup. I think it's a really fun way to play, especially in Wings of Liberty. You can utilize them a little bit like Mutalisks if you sort of if you're careful with how you maneuver. But this is actually one of the big problems in going for Phoenix, is that you can have trouble with early Stalker pressure, and especially in Heart of the Swarm with the Mothership Core able to provide the high ground vision, it can be quite frustrating to deal with.
Now we saw actually there, Grubby nearly picked off Kyo's Mothership Core, only surviving with 8 health, so that was pretty close. Now just trying to get a couple of force fields down to try and keep Grubby out, but the longer this goes on, the better it'll actually be for Kyo. But Grubby, he is committing to 2 additional gateways, so it's going to be 4 gate with the Robo there. It's pretty tough to take, but the Phoenix doing some good damage behind this, and as long as you keep picking away at your opponent, you might force them back, or at least making your mistake.
Yeah, just grabbing a couple of the probes when you can with those early few Phoenixes is really nice. But as you can see, Grubby's still doing a lot of pressure at the front, and he's now actually up the ramp, which is going to be really annoying to deal with, especially with the Mothership Core of Kyo, very low health, but some beautiful time warps. Loving seeing that stuff. It's always cool to see the big green bubble go up.
It's a pretty scary thing seeing that bubble. I've known so many pro players who are absolutely flipping tables thinking that it's incredibly OP. Especially Terrans hate it because they can't just run away easily. So you see both players' Mothership Cores now down the Phoenix, lifting a couple of Stalkers, and it looks like Yo's going to come out on top of this engagement.
Yeah, this is a factor of having a Phoenix opening that a lot of people disregard, is that you can use them for defense, and it's not necessarily going to be the most efficient way of dealing with things. But if you can lift up a few of the units and actually make the ground trading a little bit more in your favor, because you may have a few less Stalkers than your opponent, like Grubby did there, then it's a really cool sort of way to play out this kind of matchup, and it's a great way to use the Phoenix, because of course then you can fly them around, get some scouting, and maybe you can pick off a few more probes after the battle is over.
Which it looks like Yo's going to try and do, but he actually managed to snipe off an Immortal that was badly rallied by Grubby, and he's going to get the Mothership Core as well now. So to be honest, Kyo's doing really, really well with those Phoenix, getting an Immortal and a Mothership Core. That's a lot of gas that Grubby desperately needed. And of course, Kyo managing to secure his natural behind this. He's got the map dominance now. He's got the supply lead. And Grubby really has to come back into this, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I love the way that Kyo is continuing on the Phoenix production. This is actually the way that I play. Like normally, when people go for Phoenix, they'll get out around about sort of 3, maybe 4, and there are of course a couple of timings that can go on relating to Phoenix lifting up sentries. But I sort of found in my own sort of play with the Phoenix that if you continue to get them out, you can get this incredible dominance. You can use them for defense, as we mentioned before, and if you can pick up, the odd probe every now and then, you don't have to necessarily totally destroy a mineral line, but if you can, grab them every now and then, keep your opponent inside their base, much like Mutalisks do when you play in ZVP or ZVT. It's a really interesting kind of way to play out, because it gives you a lot of time to establish an expansion, as we can see back at home for Kyo.
Now Kyo is just, as you said, picking away at a couple more probes. He's now killed a grand total of 9, which actually puts him quite comfortably ahead at 34 to 25 of Grubby's probes. And with the fact that he's got his natural nexus down as well now, he's just going to be producing far more workers than Grubby can. He's also getting out Void Rays, which is an interesting transition, and especially against a Stalker heavy army. Actually, with Prismatic Alignment, they do half decent damage now, and it's a really good thing to add in. So still, we just see those Phoenix being a pain. Grubby can't commit to a push, while there's the threat of your mineral line getting decimated.
Yep, exactly. You just sort of the thing is that this play with the Phoenix coming out in a high number actually forces your opponent to stay back quite a lot, because they think they've got to defend it. The ironic part of this kind of play is that one of the best ways to deal with it is to actually just kind of forget it and just go straight for your opponent, because the majority of the time they're going to have a lot less on the ground, so you can push in like what Grubby is doing now. The question is though, will he be able to deal with these Void Rays?
Well, the Void Rays are just sitting up there. They haven't used the prismatic alignment yet. And of course, once that kicks in, you were actually the person who pointed out on your Twitter about it only doing bonus damage to armored, but now it looks like Grubby feels like he can move up into there. The Void Rays one goes down, the second one dealing some nice damage. The Zealot's tanking up quite a lot of those damage for Kyo. But still, the Immortal stays up, and that's always going to be the problem.
Yeah, he's getting. Looks like Kyo will be okay for the moment. Not necessarily going to, completely deflect this, but with the Stalker count growing higher and higher, we can see it's up to around about 16 or 17 around about now. But he is trying to bust his way through. Grubby does take care of the the last remaining Void Ray there. He doesn't have Blink, and he's actually cornered himself, which could be a little bit of a trouble here. But with the Grubby targeting down the Stalkers brilliantly there. I love the way he's microing those about, not taking too many hits from the Zealots, and then he's able to clear out all of those Stalkers as well. But he is slowly going to dwindle in the numbers of his units here.
Yep. Grubby slowly went out, and as you said, that micro was absolutely brilliant. But Grubby still has that pylon on the high ground. It does now just get targeted down, but no, it survives. Kyo needs to go back and pick that out, because all while that stays up, it's just being a pain. And Grubby, of course, gets vision of the high ground, but a Void Ray just popping out now, doing a little bit more damage. Needs Spy, but Kyo, with his own Immortal, should be able to push this force back for the time being at least.
Yeah, it looks like he's held it for now. I just kind of feel like Kyo just needs to be a little bit more careful with his Zealots. You need to kind of just sort of position them around the top of the ramp to stop the Stalkers from getting too far in. And as you said, this pylon from Grubby is still alive, providing him with the high ground vision there. So a little bit confused why that hasn't been busted down, but it looks like Grubby will get inside now. But there are now two Void Rays out. One of the prisms, one of the prismatic alignments goes off, and he is able to force the Stalkers back. So Kyo is, he's holding his ground here despite some very intense pressure from Grubby.
Well, Grubby's still not content to leave quite yet. Gonna go for one more push, but with the Void Ray staying up, when you've got two Void Rays out, when you've got the Immortal out as well, and your opponent's still just constantly producing Gateway units, I don't think Grubby's going to be able to continue this push much longer, especially once the third Void comes out. So one actually gets sniped down there. That was a good little hit for Grubby, but Kyo clearly had enough. He wanted the end of that proxy pylon, so he's therefore pushing a long way back so he can take it out.
Yep, he pushes that out and then is able to clear out the pylon. Of course, there are a couple of extra pylons out on the map, just near the top section. Obviously, both of those are quite far away for the Stalkers to get to, especially considering I'm very, intrigued by the fact that Grubby has not gone for Blink at all. Like, normally you see a player of his caliber with some fantastic micro goes for Blink, and he utilizes that in very impressive ways, but so far he hasn't actually gone anywhere near that tech. He's just sort of sticking with his own Robo and Gateway sort of forces. So I'm really intrigued to see what he's sort of planning on here, but he's committed so much to that attack that he's starting to really fall down in the supply count. He's down to 73 as opposed to the 97 of Kyo. So, this is going to be a very interesting push here.
Now, Kyo is going to go and try and push up here, trying to engage into it. One of the Void Rays does get sniped down, but the two Immortals at the back are doing good damage for the Blue Protoss player. The second Immortal now falls, and Grubby with his own second Immortal now coming out means Kyo going to have to fall back. But the interesting thing is that we see Kyo getting down his third base. He's 10 workers ahead and has been for pretty much the whole game now. So with better income, with one base up, or soon to be one base up, I think he's still in an okay spot, to be honest.
Yeah, Kyo has a lot of these power units, and we talk about power units in the fact that you've got Immortals. They do brilliant damage against, of course, all the armored units. The Void Rays are also here to provide that extra cover as well. And the thing is, the majority of a Protoss army is going to be armored units. So Kyo has just a really strong, hard-hitting force here, and we saw he actually sent his Mothership Core down to the main mineral line of Grubby and got a couple of probe kills there, and then had to recall out because a couple of Stalkers came back for Grubby and cleared that out. But Kyo's sitting in a really nice spot right now. He's up to 53 workers against the 38 of Grubby. As you said, he's got his third base now going up as well. And if he can, as long as he can read the composition of Grubby correctly, he should be fine to really power through this game. And if that third base goes up, and he, perhaps looks to switch to maybe throw in some, you can of course throw in the odd Tempest or two if you can detect that your opponent is going to switch up to Colossus. But the trouble is for Grubby, he's got no real sort of economy to go for the Colossus. So, Grubby's going to have to take a risk here. He's sort of in a spot where he's going to need to say, all right, I need to take like 2 extra bases or something like that, or I need to make a really risky tech switch.
I completely agree with you. And the other thing that is obviously in Kyo's favour is he's got the Observer, which is getting a nice look at all of Grubby's army. Sees he's going really quite Zealot heavy. With the second Stargate now down as well, he's getting out an Oracle and a Void Ray simultaneously. So he's going to have great damage. Also with the Oracle, he's got Envision, ready to snipe off any Observers for Grubby with his army. So another good little bonus if he needed that. But to be honest, as you said, with a third base already up for Kyo, Grubby needs to take a risk at some point. But when he's a good 30 supply down, it's a tough spot to come back from, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. 30 supply down. He's still 12 workers down as well. Kyo now looking to stick with that air tech. He's got the +1 on the air weapons on the way. And as you said, with double Stargate, you're able to get out these Void Rays in a ridiculous number. And the thing about the Void Rays is that while they deal really well with Stalkers, and as we said, the majority of a Protoss army, they're also really fantastic at dealing with the Colossi, just because they deal that extra damage. The Colossi obviously can't butt their heads against the Void Rays, so it will bode well, given that looks to be a Colossus switch coming up from Grubby.
Now, Kyo did send that Oracle into the main base, got 6 worker kills, cut all gas mining from the main, which is really going to hurt Grubby going later on, but it may not even go that far. A good time walk comes down from Kyo, preventing Grubby from getting in range quite quickly enough. We've got some good damage coming down here. So many Void Rays doing so much damage. You can see that one of the Immortals gets focused down. The Colossus not actually getting focused yet, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't see any way Grubby's going to be able to hold this unless he can micro that Colossus like a god, but unfortunately not. The GG is called, and Kyo, I think that was a really solid game from him, to be honest.
Yeah, good transitions and good control, I think, was a key part of that. Like, he was sort of being very careful with the ground units and knew when to push back and when to sort of hold back during that initial gateway push from Grubby. So that was a really cool game from Kyo. It was really cool to see the various things that a lot of new players, the players are doing in the new expansion here in PvP, especially.
Now, Duckville, where can people find you should they want to check out your stuff? Because of course they can see all my stuff on screen now. So if you want to shout out or promo anything you've got happening.
Sure, over at youtube.com/DuckvilleLol. You can also head over and say hello on facebook.com/duckville.casting, and also you can find me ranting about StarCraft and also Dota 2 on twitter.com/DuckvilleLol.
Brilliant. So thank you very much everyone for tuning in. I hope you did enjoy. Remember, like the video, leave a cool comment, check out Duckville, and of course subscribe. See you tomorrow for yet another new cast.